Good morning and welcome to Seller Sessions. I have with me today Samduta, one of my favorite people that I met a few years ago. Hello, my love. How are you feeling?
I'm doing very well, and it's so wonderful to be on a show with you with such an amazing, wonderful woman. And I always have been in awe of how far you've come. And I think the time we met to now, it's been such an inspiring journey. And with you, it always feels like we're picking up from where we left.
Thank you so much. It does feel like this. I remember meeting you, and I don't think I've ever told you this. So it's been I think like 2 or 3 years. And I remember Sean Elias, I think it was him from Helium 10, came to me. We were at an event and he said, Isabella, like he was looking for me everywhere. You have to meet this lady. And I was like, who is this lady? He's like, you don't understand. She's so powerful. Like she reminds me so much of you, but like she's done so much. And like I swear to you, for like a minute, I was like, terrified. I was like, who is this? Like, am I even worthy of meeting her? So that was like my very first impression of you. And then me and you met and we clicked right away. And I remember we finished off the evening, if I recall, giving advice to some really young lady at the pool. Do you remember that?
Of course we do. It's like for us, you and me was like an instant connection. And I think I'm very grateful to Sean because he kind of figured out that we would get along because he was with me the whole evening trying to connect me to these people. And I had come as a plus one, for my then ex, and it was amazing because Vegas was amazing. It had the right vibe and it was meeting the right people. But here I was meeting this amazing woman, completely self-made, just like me. And coming from nothing and building everything, I think we both inspired each other.
I love that. And guys, we did not plan to wear the same thing today. We came on and we looked at each other. We're like, what's going on? So
that's what happens. With I think it's a boss lady vibe. And I was telling you, I went for my first vaccine today, and I'm in Dubai right now. And I didn't expect, but I ended up getting a fever. So I called my doctor, and he's like, you know what, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's normal. But I was feeling really tired, right? But when you told me, we have to be on, I'm like, what's my color? Red is my color when I'm not feeling my best and it uplifts my mood. Boom, I see you. I'm like, oh my God. This is like the sister vibe. Yeah.
Yes, it was perfect. So you got your first COVID vaccine and you are feeling just a little under the weather, right? You said you have a little fever.
Yes, I do. I have
describe it. Is it different than anything you've done before?
No. By the way, Isabella, I have taken a lot of vaccines in my life. Trust me on that. When I went to Kenya in 2019, I took 13 vaccines. So this is nothing compared to that. And the thing that I wanted to share is that it's just like any other vaccine, right? You just do not think about it so much. Indeed, getting a fever is a good sign that it's working because what happens in a vaccine is that the RNA packet kind of starts, building up when you actually get the vaccine, and you're able to kind of, take it like that. So the body kind of starts producing antibodies immediately because it gets into a shock. So I don't think there's any problem. It's just that you'll get a little bit of body pain and a little bit of feeling a little drowsy and a little weak, but that's about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I know you messaged me this morning and I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad that you're having fever, but I'm glad to see that you're here wearing your red and you're in your power position and power stance. So I want people who don't know you like I know you, walk us through your journey a little bit, where you came from, because you mentioned now you're in Dubai, and how did you even get from where you were to where you are now? I would love for everybody to know.
Oh, that's amazing. I come from a family of doctors, right? Means both my parents are doctors, and I never thought I'm going to do something different because I'm the only child of my parents. And my father was a doctor to Mother Teresa, and he's very, very well known in India, right? So when you come from a family like that, the usual expectation is that you're going to follow the family suit because you're taking the legacy forward. And I'm the only child of my parents, but I'm always a rebel. I never like to do anything ordinary, right? So first thing, I can't handle blood. So I knew that when I had to do a dissection on a frog, I had fainted. And my teacher told me then, this is not your thing. So, but I had to prove to my parents that I could pass the exam. So I took the medical exam, got a great rank nationally, and I got into the best medical school. But I told my dad when I was 16, I cannot do this. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do something different. And from the kind of family I come from, there has been no entrepreneurs. They're either all doctors or lawyers or, people in the government or in politics. So I'm like, I had to do something different. And also because I found that to be very empowering. So 16, I left home, Isabella. My dad, who's my best friend, told me to leave home, said that if you really want to do something that we are not okay with, then you can go and do what you want on your own. You don't have our support. So I left home when I was 16. I was born in a place called Calcutta in India, but I went to Bangalore because that's where I wanted to study economics, and it's a great place for that. So I went there to study, and I still remember I took a train from Calcutta to Bangalore, and I had never sat in a train before. Oh, and I come from a very privileged background and had all the best things in life. And here I was in a really, really shitty compartment, not comfortable. All the men looked like molesters. I was scared to hell. And I reached Bangalore and I had no money. Within a week, I'd exhausted my money. So I used to make chocolates at the dormitory I used to stay in and sell it at my college because my friends all had boyfriends. I used to say they had the luxury of boyfriend and I could not afford a boyfriend. So I decided to kind of, sell the chocolates to them so they could enjoy their life. I would also do a lot of ghostwriting. I learned how to stitch. I would do stitching on the weekend. I would sit at a salon to sell services on the weekend. I did all of that, Isabella, to survive. By the end of my grad school, I'd already topped the university and I got a gold medal. And that's when my dad came to meet me 3 years after. And that changed me completely because—
So you haven't seen your dad in that period for 3 years?
3 years. He didn't see me. He didn't speak to me. And by the way, that time, mobile phones were not a thing in India. It was not that accessible. It wasn't, and it was not such a big deal. It was a big deal to have a phone, and I couldn't afford one. And he didn't speak to me for 3 years, and I was devastated because I thought, like, how can he do that to me when he was my best friend? But when he came down, when I won, got the gold medal from the governor then, and he came down, and he was the first person standing in the row and clapping, and he had tears in his eyes. I think I realized then why my dad did what he did. A lot of us want to be rebels. They want to do things differently, but we don't know how to survive. He taught me how to survive. And since then, Isabella, there has been no looking back. I went on to MIT to get my PhD, started my first company. We got acquired by CPL last year, which is a Cisco company now. I started my second venture. My second venture didn't go too well. It actually failed, but that's where the learning and journey of an entrepreneur is. You sometimes can get too confident. You think you're doing the right thing and you're making the right moves, but it's very important to find a balance between personal and professional life. During my second venture, I met my partner who I later got engaged to, and I quickly moved. My focus went away. I moved, to New York, and I stopped focusing on the business much. But I also got too overconfident because I'm like, what? The business is doing so well. It's making a lot of profit. Let me start retail stores. So from an online business, I got into retail, and within a matter of 3 months, I lost $1 million. Wow. So from a business that was making profit to losing $1 million, and now building a unicorn. So Assiduus is already over 100 million in valuation. We've raised money during the pandemic, growing at like a 300x. We are in why I'm in Dubai is we have our operations in India, Manila. We started our office in Dubai. We also are starting to set up something in Russia, in Germany, and of course we are in US as well. So what we learned from all this is that it's never ending, right, Isabella? We all are in a journey of constant improvement, constant learning. And for me, everything is a learning. And during this time, Isabella, I also want to share with you that I went through a lot of physical challenges. I've had 2 brain surgeries since the time I was born. One very recently where I was diagnosed with a cerebrospinal fluid accumulation, and I had to go through radiation to get better. But what did it teach me is that everything is so transient that you live for the day. You make the most of the day. You surround yourself with the right people. You surround yourself with people that are really positive. And most importantly, you keep pushing yourself for excellence and you do not surrender to negativity. So that's been the journey of my life in brief.
Oh my God. I mean, I can't believe you have fever and you just like went through all of that through your life's journey under while under the weather. So I really appreciate you being here and sharing. I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. So how did you even know you had that entrepreneurial side? Because, you know, coming from a family of doctors, like, you know, everything is provided for you. And it's almost hard to think that you would start having your own ideas. So where did that come from? How did you get your inspiration, and what made that fire burn inside of you?
You know, it's so funny. I have to tell you the story. So in Calcutta, you know, there is something called as a club that most of these really affluent families go to, right? And this club has doctors and, you know, people who are politicians and bureaucrats, and also people who are really, really big business people, right? So if you've heard of the Tatas and the Birlas, they all come from Calcutta. They all started their business in Calcutta, and they all would come to this club in really fancy cars, the Bentleys and the Mercedes and everything else. And here is my dad, a very humble doctor, coming in a very, you know, I don't know whether you've even heard of this brand called Ambassador. It was that time you know, pretty well-known brand, which later got acquired by General Motors. But I'm like, Dad, why do we come in this car when these guys come in such big cars? So my dad is like, they can afford it. I'm like, what do they do that they can afford it? They are business people. Boom. I'm like, why can't I be that? Though it started with the aspiration for a fancier life, it was more about not the fancier life.
How old were you then? How old were you then, Sam?
I think I was 11 or 12 years old. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But you know what? I have to tell you that everything I am is because of my parents, because they made me a very inquisitive child. I was very well read. My books were my best friend. So I was always well read. My dad was constantly giving me books to read. He wanted to push me to think differently. You know, I was at a very young age reading, you know, Brian E. Weiss. I was reading Carl Sagan. I was reading, you know, Jeff Warner. I was reading people who you would not ideally from kind of background I came from, because my dad was always pushing me to learn more. And this made me very inquisitive, Isabella. As a child, I was always wanting to know why, what else. And when I would ask my dad this question, he would very fervently answer to me and tell me why this, why that. And I think that inspired me, Isabella, you know, because he never said a no to me. He never said, no, don't do it. He just pushed me and said that, you know what? If you want to do it, go figure it out. You know, you're not going to have everything put in a platter for you. I'm not going to invest in your business if you want to start. You figure out where you'll find the money. I think that was the difference, right? He pushed me to excel, but he never said no to me that don't ask me these questions, or, oh, no, you can't think about business. So yeah, that's where it actually started. But today, when I tell you, you know, when I've made so much money, I've gone through so many difficulties, but you know, life is amazing right now. It's not the money, Isabella. Money is a byproduct. You know, what makes me really happy or really feel the essence of success is the struggle that I've gone through to come this far, right? That to me, it makes the story worth telling. You know, you can be a multi-millionaire, but people don't remember you unless you've really inspired them. So I started becoming an angel investor at a very young age. I was not even, I think 27 when I started investing in other startups. So I was like, how do I give back? How do I go and help more and more entrepreneurs with ideas, with aspirations who don't have the resources? So
how did you pick who to invest in? Because I'm sure, as I know you were looking for different things than your regular investor would. So what were some of the things that you try to pick out?
I had to, so even though it sounds cliche, but it's very important to understand that there are not a lot of women investors who invest in women, right? Because most of it is a male-dominated bastion. We know that most of the investment firms are run by big men. So as an angel, the reason they call us angel is because we take the early risk. One, I was looking at a founding team that definitely had a woman in it. Because you know, Isabella, we have the extra X chromosome that makes us so powerful. Right? So we are the balance of the X and Y of men with 2 extra X's that we have. And that's what makes us so special. We think very intuitively. We are good with money. Think about it. Why are the best economists? Why are the best leaders in this world who are managing economy, whether it's the International Monetary Fund, whether it's the chief economist in the United States, or even World Economic Forum, are all women. Women are naturally good with money. Men are great in kitchen. That's why the best chef in the world are all men. So I was one looking for the balance between a man and a woman founder. One, because I think women keep men prudent, and we are way empowered than we are given credit for. Two, I was looking at businesses that are not just tech heavy only, that had a consumer angle to it. So I really like D2C. I believe that investing in brands gives you a lot of agility because you get a lot of access to direct customers. You're able to understand a lot of data, and data is everything today. So for me, I think those were two important things. And so my typical investments have been in consumer focused technology, SaaS technology, again, for D2C brands. Also D2C brands that I've invested in as well. And one of my early investments was BookPad, a company that got acquired by Yahoo when Yahoo still had money and Yahoo didn't go bankrupt. But yeah, they were disrupting, what Google Docs is, right? So they were disrupting the documentation format for a business like Yahoo. So things that are agile, smart, and I like investors who have an exit plan. I believe that you always are smart when you have an exit plan. Whether you want to get acquired by a Google or you want to become one, you need to have an exit plan. So that to me is very, very important when I'm investing in any startups.
Do you see this as an issue a lot with a lot of existing brands or companies on the market not having that exit plan? Is that something rare that you see?
Oh, yes. I think most entrepreneurs get too attached to what they're building. They feel that they can do it. One, I think as an entrepreneur, my learning has been you are not good at everything. You need to hire people who are better than you, and you need to know when to let go. Don't get too attached to anything that you're building, because that's when you're going to have your downfall. It happened to me, is why I know it so well. So, today you are a genius when it comes to the e-commerce place, and you have done so much, right? You've disrupted it in different things that you do with your business. But think about it. There are so many entrepreneurs in this space who start off really well, who start growing, and then they get too attached to it and they don't know when to exit. Then a competition comes in with something more disruptive, boom, they're gone. That's why it's so important to know that if you're making at least a 10 to 15% post EBITDA profit, and you've reached a valuation of maybe $2 to $3 million, make an exit. Use that money, put it in a safer way, have something that's recurring that supports you, and then take a part of it and reinvest into something. I think that's very important to do. If you're in the tech side of business, unless you have an IP or a patent for what you're building, it's very, very important to stay sustainable or get an exit. So build that IP into what you're doing. Get that patent, even if it's a utility patent or a process patent, but patent is what brings valuation to a company. So that's very, very important to do if you're in the pure tech side. So this is how I evaluate them, Isabella.
These are very wise words from you, because I see this a lot, working with Amazon brands, and I see people getting very, very attached, especially when they become very successful. So if a brand is not that successful, they're easy to get rid of it. But when they see that their baby has grown and is doing so well, they want to hold on. They say, this is my baby. I can see it. I mean, I know people who've held it for 5 years, 10 years and more. They held their brands. And yes, they're doing extremely well. But at the same time, it's like, when is it time to let go? And I don't know if it's a mental thing where maybe a lot of people think, well, I don't know if I can replicate this again. They don't want to let themselves down, or what it is. But this is definitely something I always try to advise people, because we are entrepreneurs. We love to start things. Like, if you don't continue starting things, then you're not really a startup anymore. You just have one thing that has worked for you. And like you said, competition is very fierce. And I see it daily. I mean, even with my company, I love my company to that. And, we have a great group of women that work with RankBell. And, but if the right offer came in, I would be quick to move on to something else, because of the nature of who I am. And I'm always looking forward to do different things. So I love that you really emphasize that.
And it's important. One of the things is that why you need to also make an exit is it's giving yourself a break, because as human beings, we tend to get bored. And sometimes when we get bored, it's because the circumstances are not in our control, right? If you're building a company which is dependent on something, let's say, people who are selling on e-commerce, hey, you're dependent on the marketplace. The algorithm changes, something changes, they change a policy, you are going to get affected by it. And also, this whole thing of replicating, you don't have to replicate your successes all the time. You can do something innovative. Why people become investors or do something more unique or, take a break from your doing, nobody's going to question if you stop being an entrepreneur. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. Get into education, get into doing something which is more interesting beyond just selling products, maybe, invest in tech or get into something, for example, invest in great ideas. So you have multiple eggs in different baskets and you know that they're going to mature and do well. So I think we need to change the way we think as entrepreneurs and think that we don't have to always replicate our successes. We just have to ensure we grow and evolve and learn and do something new all the time.
Mm-hmm. How did you start getting into investment? Because it's one thing to make money and really, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I have enough money, I'm good. But now it's time to make my money move. And that's another thing that I see, not only women, but also men that do this a lot. Like, when is it time to kind of let your wings spread a little bit and trust in yourself? Because, of course, it's an investment. It may be successful or not. So when was the time for you when you felt confident enough to be like, you know what, this is the time for me to invest?
It's very important to know that, we all have our commitments. We all have things that basic needs and the lifestyle that we want to lead. I think it's important to be aware of what you want and how you want to lead your life, even if you stopped working. So the way I started thinking at a very young age, because of the time of struggle that I had when I was 16, is that there can be a point when you end up with nothing. So you secure your future. So when I started doing well in my first business and it started kind of generating a lot of profit and stuff like that, on the side, I was also consulting. And these consulting engagements were either I was board advisor, I was, helping other startups or taking up other advisory roles. So it got a lot of secondary income to me. So what I did with the secondary income is that out of whatever I would earn, about 30% I set aside every month for investment. And I kind of, broke it down into three parts. One, how much I would put in stocks and trade, what kind of stocks am I interested in? So I kind of, partnered with a great day trader, figured out what is my area of interest, how I would want to work and so on. And the part of that, I wanted to invest in startups. And startup investing is a 5 to 7 year period. Please understand that you cannot expect results. And it's always a 10:1 ratio. So if you invest in 10, one will end up being successful after 7 years. There are many of the startups I've invested in, I still don't have an exit. They've grown humongously, but I know when they get acquired, it's going to be a multi-million dollar exit. But you got to be patient. So that 30%, you have to forget about that 30% for the next 4 to 5 years because it needs time to grow. It's like planting a seed, putting the water, nourishing it, putting whatever the cure that is required. But you can't expect the tree to grow in a day. It doesn't work like that. So I always structured, and as an economics student, I think I'm good with that. So I structured my finances very well in terms of how I want to invest. And that's how I have done it so far. So about 30% of my income is always set aside for investment that I'm not looking to touch in at least a 4 to 5 year, sometimes 7 years time frame. Mm-hmm. So that's how I wanted to always build my life. And means, I'm taken care of. My other things are taken care of. I'm well secured in every other way. So I can play around with my money now. So that's pretty much how it is.
Yeah. And I love that. And for those who are listening, so you did the 30% after you made sure that your bills are taken care of, that you
Absolutely.
have enough. Because, I see two kinds of people. I see the ones that just want to invest, but they have a lot of debt. So, and I always advise, I said, make sure you take care of your debt first. And there's conflicting discussions around this, whether you should invest or if your debt is like, lower percentage, lower interest than you would earn in an investment. And I always say, you know what, just based on what I've done in my life, like, I don't like that. And I don't know if it's coming from Romania, whatever it is, I don't like it. I don't like knowing that I have, even on my credit card, if I spend whatever I spend, even if I spend 50 grand that month, at the first of each month, it's taking care of it automatically without me even knowing. It's just the thing I have. So if you are starting to invest, make sure that these needs are taken care of first, and then look into that. And beside that, an investment, there's another crucial point, which is retirement. And a lot of young people do not like to think about it. And I started putting money into my retirement very early, and people are like, you are crazy. Like, you could go out and like buy yourself all these cars and do this. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, retirement, it's like, we're all going to be old at some point. And I would never want to be the burden of like my child or anybody to try to take care of me. If I take care of myself first, then everybody else will be taken care of. So when I say retirement, and a lot of people are scared of that word, and I can understand why, because like, oh my God, retirement, you're old, you can't do anything. But I don't ever even plan to retire. I don't think as an entrepreneur, I will ever retire. But just knowing that there's funds there for me for anything I need, like, I am at peace. I am at peace, whether I start more companies, whether this one goes to shit, whatever happens, I don't ever have to worry about it, because I have money that's sitting there waiting for me. And then I have the other chunk that's like doing profits every month.
Multiplying.
I am investing. So I love the 30%. When I started, I didn't have like a budget in mind. I just kind of took it, but I can see how having a plan that's more organized will be better. Also, as a mental peace. So I really love that. And you said you invest also in stocks, right?
I do. Yes.
Did you learn that by yourself, or you said you had like a day trader that was helping you? How did you get into that? And how do you pick your stocks? Because I mean, there's just so much. Like,
I know.
One.
Of course. I think, before I answer that question, I have to tell you this. You and I are so aligned when we talked about retirement. See, there is two kinds of retirement. One is financial, one is intellectual. Intellectually, an entrepreneur never retires, right? Because our left brain is always thinking. And that's why we are entrepreneurs, right? Our left brain overpowers our right. But financial retirement is important, because otherwise you're going to lead a life always worrying about your tomorrow. And whether it's not about having children or whatever, right? It's like, it's also about you knowing that if something happened to you or you decided to take a break, you are financially capable of taking that break. We all need that. And therefore, I love your idea of retirement, because I did just that. I took care of it. I am like, today, it doesn't matter. It's not about the financial capability that I have. It's about the ability that I can say no to something and stop doing something if I wanted to. If my health didn't permit me, or my mind didn't permit me to do something, I don't have to be obligated to continue doing it, because I have those commitments. So I love it. But yeah, intellectually, we never as entrepreneurs retire, and we'll continue to do what we do. Coming to in terms of the trading, right? It always interested me, because my dad was into it. My dad was, trading, at his age. When I was growing up, I always saw him investing in stocks. He had someone, who was an investment firm that used to kind of take care of it for him. Like I said, my dad was very empowering always. He always taught me things, things that will make me very self-sufficient, things that made me very inquisitive. So when I started making a decent amount of money, I kind of started learning and understanding how market operates, how to get bullish, or when to be bearish, or how do stocks perform. It's not just the financial statements. It's not just in terms of the projections that the company gives. It's also in terms of the government, the policies, the way a country is functioning, the kind of party it chooses to rule. There are a lot of different socioeconomic, political, geopolitical factors that plays a role in trading. So for me, I look at trading in two buckets. One is interest, the other is the economy, right? So today, I would invest in any stock that has a lot of digital play to it, right? I know you invested in Tesla, so did I. Not a lot, but I invested small, and I made good profit and made an exit, and then I kind of invested in other things as well. But I bought the shares of Bumble the moment it went IPO. Why? Yeah. Not just because it's a woman founder, not that it's just a compelling story, but look at it. They disrupted dating. Right? I will invest into Clubhouse the moment it goes IPO. So my way of picking, or Zoom, my way of picking stocks is how relevant is it in the current market and whether it's going to stay relevant for the next 5 years. I look at that because if you are, including pharmaceutical, I do invest a lot in those stocks as well, because, few things that never go out of context, or they say it never stops, the demand will never stop: education, food, clothing, and medicine and hospitals, right? So these are things which are so important and integral to our life that no matter what happens, they're not going to go away. So if it's a food tech startup, I invest in it, right? If it's gone IPO. If it's a health tech startup that's gone IPO, I invest in it because it's very relevant. If it's a startup, a social, like I would say a social enterprise startup or a social private network startup like a Bumble, I would invest in it. So these are usually my portfolio, and I kind of put them in different buckets. Like I have a certain percentage I want to invest in each one, and then I go along with and I see when I want to exit, at what point, and I set those pointers for me as well. So I'm monitoring that, but I do have an expert who guides me. I don't do it by myself.
Interesting. Yeah. So for me, when I buy stocks, okay, and again, this may be like a childhood thing. Like I tend to hoard things. So even stocks, like I have all these stocks, like I know how to buy. I never sold one. And because you mentioned in the beginning, women are so good at economics and this. And one of the things that makes women so good at investment is because they know when to hold, rather than, men will do a lot of more day trading. Like, again, I never sold a stock, and my portfolio grew in 1 year close to 1 million in 1 year. Right. Just based on all the investments that I've done. So just looking in the future, 5 years, 10 years, yeah, it's probably not going to grow 1 million every year, but I'm not banking on that. I'm banking on the fact that, out of my whole portfolio, some will go bankrupt, but some are really going to make it. And this is what I am planning on. And that's why I don't sell. I mean, yeah, if I see that something like really, really crazy happened, then I will reconsider. But like Tesla is not going anywhere. I am not going.
No, they're not. They're not going anywhere.
That's staying. And I was looking at Bumble, and I don't know what I was doing, and then I forgot to buy. So now after this call, this is my next move.
You should, because they've gone down. So this is a good point. So this is a good point to buy, because when they opened the market, they within a very short period of time, they hit the roof, and now they're going to go. So in the next 1 to 2 weeks is a very good time to buy the stock. The more you buy, because it's going to then shoot up, because they have a strategy and a plan to do a lot of push and PR. Because remember, this is a woman who came from nothing, was sexually harassed and abused. There's a big story to it. She's the first youngest billionaire at 31. So the story is only going to multiply, and they're going to be big investors picking up the stock. So it's going to multiply. With Tesla, I think one of my learnings is that sometimes you hold some and you let go of some, because you then take that money out and you can invest into something that can also have a multiplier effect. So I don't hold everything for too long, purely because what happens is, in case remember something is, Isabella, is that at the end of the day, there are socio-political conditions that are not in your and my control.
Correct.
And if there is anything that happens, whether cross-border, whether economic policy, whether any kind of bilateral trade issues, right, it impacts it. So then it'll take a huge dip. So you keep kind of, having that agility so that you're able to grow and scale it very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will definitely consider that going forward, and I'll always diversify. So like when the pandemic happened, I invested a lot in the cruise lines, the airlines. I invested in gas. I invested in some pharmaceutical companies, and of course, it was just a period of time where these stocks were so low, they were basically almost giving them away for free. So sometimes you have to take advantage of these times in our life, because this
absolutely
is when wealth is created. So something I probably wouldn't have invested if the pandemic didn't happen, like American Airlines or United or like the cruise lines. It wouldn't be something that would be in my in my portfolio. But because this happened, it was definitely something that I reached out and grabbed, and I'm gonna hold them. I know people will start traveling again, especially now with the vaccine. People are still going to go to the movies, and
I think you're very smart. I did the same. I did invest in a lot of airline stocks during the time the pandemic hit, because told you, right? I'm a child of adversity. For me, every adversity is an opportunity. So I am just like you. I take a look at what things not in moments. I take a look at things in long term. And I think that's, again, a very woman, the extra X chromosome thing. So yes, and they already have quadrupled. So and those are the ones you need to hold, because they are going to just pick up more and more, purely because people are going to go so aggressive post the vaccine. They're going to start going crazy because, when you hold people in a place, they just need to break free. And the moment they break free, they want to travel. So that's, I think, yeah. So that's a very smart thing that you have done.
Thank you. Yeah. And now, do you invest in real estate, by the way?
I do. Not in real estate stocks as such, but I do have a lot of real estate that I bought over a period of time. Also not in one country, in different countries, and now in Dubai as well. So I am, because I'm a big believer that there's a lot of disruption that is going to happen. And when you hold a property in different regions, you're pretty much creating an ecosystem, or rather a portfolio for yourself, for an additional income in future if you want, right? Because if you were investing in the right real estate, it is going to multiply. And I did that. So I invested in real estate during the pandemic. When people were not buying, I bought. And that I know is just going to multiply because they were at an all-time low. So yes, I do.
I love that. You see, and this is why this is so great, because you don't hear women talk about these things at all. And even I tried to start this conversation with my friends, and a lot of people don't even know where to start. So making this a normal, I think it's so great that we can have a conversation around stocks and real estate without it being boring, without it being like, oh my God, what is going on. And real estate is definitely something that I've started investing in last year, and I'm doing more just buying properties around the US for now. I am thinking of doing it international. I do have that fear of like, oh my God, I'm not there, I don't know what's going on. Like I had a contract to buy something in Romania, in my country, and the last minute I was like, no, I'm not doing this. But it's also because I'm like, it's Romania, like I know how the government works, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to deal with what I dealt with 50 years ago.
That's a smart decision, because when I pick a country, I look into what their policies are, what the government is doing. Will I be succumbing to something which will be adverse? So I take that into consideration. Of course, my first few investments were in India. It's not that I invested anywhere else, because it's my country. I was more comfortable doing it, and it had a multiplier effect, because the places I chose really became the hotbed of technology and innovation and stuff like that. And then why Dubai? Because it's a great place. It's only growing. They have phenomenal plans until 2025. And with the new Israel UAE corridor, it's going to be so much bigger and better. And it's a great place right now. It has all the luxuries of the East and the lifestyle of the West. And if you come here, and I'm happy to host you anytime, just hop onto the plane and I'll be happy to host you. You have a home here always, like I said. So if you come here, it's got like such a cosmopolitan culture, great education, great life, great lifestyle, and most importantly, it's tax-free. So they're absolutely tax-free, right? You have to pay nothing. So that's a great, and also Puerto Rico is a place that I'm evaluating investing in, because a lot of entrepreneurs are moving there. Because for United States, for people of United States, Puerto Rico is the only place where you can only pay 4% tax and no tax on capital gains. Like an American cannot come and live in Dubai and not pay taxes, because you have to pay federal taxes. But it's possible if you do it in Puerto Rico. So a lot of entrepreneurs are going to move there, because the government is going to change its policy on capital gains even further. So if they move there, that's a great place to invest. So I take those things into consideration when I'm investing. And that's something that I feel always has worked for me.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I was considering it too for a while. It's hard for me to move there because, I have family here. My parents live right next door. Yeah. But it's still in the back of my mind every day. And also, like, my tax attorney is always saying, Isabella, imagine you are waking up in paradise with like a Mai Tai in your hand, and you're in Puerto Rico and you're only paying 4%. I'm like, oh my God, you're making this so hard. It's like, Isabella, it's paradise. But and I believe it, and I don't mind living in in another place. It's just it's definitely something I will consider. If I don't move, at least maybe invest in it for sure.
Okay, so let me tell you this, okay, because I know how you are. It's not paradise, because it's a very slow place. People don't really do anything there. I'm a city girl. Okay, I was living there for a while, but it's not my vibe. Why I want to invest there is purely because it's a great holiday getaway. And given that so many e-commerce people are moving there, I know I'm going to make money out of that investment, right? However, will I go live there? No, it's not. Because one, it's not a city. It's okay to go hang out and have a good time, but I need a city. I need a vibe to where I live. And I'm a city girl. I cannot survive in a place that is so laid back, even though so most of them think I'm one of them because I look a little like them, but they start speaking to me in Spanish and I'm learning Spanish, but yeah, but it's not my place. Like I get very bored when I'm there, right? So, but because you are a city girl, see, again, I don't have a family. I was living there with my partner, so it's a very different thing. But for a lot of families, I know they live in Palmas del Mar or in Dorado. They like it a lot because it's more family and stuff like that. But for young people like us, you and I are city girl. We need to go out and have fun. So yeah, that's not the place for it.
Well, yeah, this is one, and I wasn't going to mention this, but this is probably the main reason
it's
why.
The truth.
Okay, fine. You call me. This is why I don't want to go there. I need that. Like, I am a social butterfly. I feed off of energy. Like, even this pandemic really took a hit on me because I don't have that. I don't get to be with my people. I don't get to energize myself. Like, yeah, I love working is definitely something I really love, but going to conferences and going out and nice dinners, like that really fills me, whereas for some people that really they want to stay home. For me, it's like, that's how I get my power. So you really hit the nail on the head with that one. You do know me. You know me too well.
Well, you know why Sean connected us, right? And I'm brutally honest. I don't want to mince my words, and I like to say what it is, and I don't want to pretend. And there is a time, we women often try to be someone else's definition of what we should be. I think that's where we go wrong, and we end up hurting ourselves. Like, we need to be honest about who we are, and if people can accept us that way, great. Otherwise, we are great by ourselves.
I love that. And how did I know you are very, very much in love with women empowerment, and how did this came about in your life? And I just need to know how. You are the embodiment of a power woman, and I think a lot of women would love to know how to become one.
The first thing is, when you hear the word empower, if you hear it multiple times, it actually sounds like I am powered, right? I have a very empowered mom. My mom's a cardiothoracic surgeon, and she's a super empowered woman. She pushed all boundaries. She did new things all the time. And even medicine used to be a male-dominated bastion. So she proved herself in that. So I had a very empowered woman who always told me, don't expect another sex, a gender that comes out of your womb to make you feel empowered, right? Indeed, I think our men need empowerment. Women are already very empowered. And I feel that we have the power to give birth and the power to create, and that just makes us so formidable force. Now, why am I so, into this, or rather I want more and more women to come out and do their thing, is the onus, it feels like it's always on us to prove that we're good at everything. Why should we, Isabella? It's okay if I'm not a great mom, or if I'm not a great wife. What is the parameters of greatness? One, we women should not, push ourselves to prove a point all the time. You can be not good at something, and that's okay. I'm not living with my parents all the time. That does not make me a bad daughter. I am there for them when they need me. I'm an adoptive mom. I have an adoptive child. I am there for her when she needs me. And a lot of people, I when I decided to do it, I was just 24, and a lot of people wouldn't even think of something like that. But in terms of people, at the end of the day, we need to understand something. I am not about just having, my own child. Yes, I have a daughter, but I'm godmother to so many other kids because I want to be a part of their life and their journey. So my way of looking at life is this: you don't have to be good at everything. The power comes from within, where you tell yourself that I'll pick up something and do it. Don't wait for someone to validate it for you. If you have a great lover, a great husband, a great partner, great, all is great, but they're not going to be great for you, your entire journey. Some things you have to walk on your own. You have to do on your own. And that's very, very, very important, Isabella. And I think that's where we falter, right? That's where we go wrong. So I think that is where we women need to look at ourselves, take a step back and say, I'm not defined by who I marry. I'm not defined by who I give birth to. I'm not defined by how much money I earn. And I'm not defined if somebody is going to give me the crown of a great daughter or not a great daughter. I am a good human being who's committed to doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it well, whatever that is. And when I can't do it well, I'm not going to allow somebody to pull me down. I think that is something we need to empower ourselves with, which is why we get so emotionally vulnerable in our lives. And I have learned from my own mistakes, Isabella. I have gone through a lot in my life to realize that I don't want to give that power to anyone.
Oh, so sweet. I love that so much. And I'm sure those who are watching are feeling the same. And this is what I want to transpire to every single day. There's Isabella who has the business, and I love it. I love working. It's my thing. But I want, for the rest of my life, every single person that I meet and that I touch, I want them to feel inspired. I want them to know they can always do better. That's why I was so excited when you said yes to this interview, because you are one of the most powerful women that I personally know. And when there's one, there's another one, I want women to see this as normal. This is normal. There's a lot of us out there, and we need to support each other and shine the light on each other to make room for all the other women. And I love that. What you said, those words just really, really resonated with me. So really, thank you for that.
And I want to say something else. This is something that happened to me. Somebody told me, why do you blow your own trumpet? I'm like, who's going to do it for me? Yes. Isabella, we women should be very proud of how far we have come. If we get recognized, we need to talk about it, because nobody else is going to do it for you if you don't do it yourself. And to all your women listeners, I'm going to tell this. Don't be shy of talking about your successes, as you should about your failures. Don't let somebody tell you that, oh my God, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. Do what you like. If you fail, it's still your failure. And if you succeed, it's your success. So we women need to blow not only our own trumpet, but each other's trumpet, and pick each other up. And that's why I like you so much, Isabella, because you do that, you believe in that, and never be shy of pushing yourself and telling people how awesome you are.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned this point, because again, coming from Romania, I was always told, like, don't speak up, like, be quiet, like, keep your mouth shut, like, don't say anything. Like, even if you have anything more than somebody else, you never show, you never say anything. And it was a conflicting thought that I had in my head, because I did come here and I accomplished all of these things. And when I started talking about it, it felt like I felt guilty, like, oh my God, like, I'm doing much better than this person, so I shouldn't say these things because it's going to make them feel bad. But I noticed every time I spoke up, like, people will come to me and say, thank you for sharing your experience. And every time I did that, and then I got this feedback, I was like, oh my God, everything I knew in this life was wrong. Everything I knew. So now every time I have a chance, I'm like, yes, I am doing this. Yes, I am doing this. I am making this. I never have a problem telling people how much I make, and they're always blown away. They're like, wait, we don't talk about money. What do you mean? You should never say that. Like, you're going to jinx it. You're going to, people have different conceptions about everything. I'm like, no, I am saying this not to brag. Like, yeah, I'm happy, but I'm telling you because I want you to know that it's possible, not only for a woman, but even for men. Like, everybody that I come in contact to and I have a conversation to, they're always blown away. They're like, I cannot believe you just told me this. I'm like, we should normalize this.
Yes.
We should definitely make it part of our life. Just like we talk, why is this so easy for us to talk about, like, our relationships and divorces and this, but not about money? Like, this is part of our life. We should be so much more open in discussing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, girl? If you are a boss babe, be very proud of it and let people know, because at the end of the day, there's a reason there are PR agencies making money, because we all need that. We all need that communication. We all need to push ourselves up, and doesn't matter who thinks what. You're not going to jinx anything. It's your hard work. At the end of the day, the only thing that's going to jinx it if you stop working hard. Otherwise, nothing is going to jinx it ever.
That's right. Oh my God, you're so amazing. And I know I just want to ask you so many things and about your businesses, and we didn't even get into that. But can you just touch just like a minute about the business that you just sold last year? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I founded Unspun, which was an ad tech company. So we were the first to use machine learning to do user behavioral analytics. So we had tools like Act, MyPR.io, and VideoKen. And this basically kind of, became a phenomena because India had such a large consumer base. We had a lot of FMCG companies using us, and then we expanded into the United States, and we had a lot of big companies from a Procter & Gamble to a Johnson & Johnson that was using our platform. And last year we sold the company, and I made myself an exit of about 30 million, selling the company. And I'm very proud to talk about it because, hey, it was completely built from scratch and we did phenomenally well. So there is no harm in talking about it. And yeah, so that's what happened. And then the other company that I was telling you about, which didn't do well, was a fashion line, completely crowdsourced. In the first 6 months, we were already doing like almost close to 57-58% profit, but I got greedy. I wanted to expand it. I didn't think about it too much. I had just gotten into a new relationship, and that took my priority, and I overlooked the business dynamics of things. But 2020, Isabella, has been a phenomenal year for me, right? Not only did I sell my first business, I got into my, my second one that is doing very, very well. The third one, rather, Assiduus, that is where our D2C brands are. We own our private label brands. We also work with really, really large companies as their exclusive distributors for e-commerce, right? And we do it at a global level. So we help a lot of brands that are maybe just selling on one marketplace, can't have access to other geographies. We bring them on, we invest in them, bring them on, and work with them very closely. And that's not just limited to small brands. We work with an H&M, we work with a Marc Jacobs, we work with brands like Huda Beauty, Cipla, Himalaya, many other brands, very large brands like multi-million dollar businesses. But we also help a lot of startups, very smart startups, which has great potential, but they're not able to expand beyond a geography. We work with them. And the thing with us is we're not Amazon only. Mm-hmm. We work with multiple marketplaces. So we work with the Ozon in Russia. We work with a Noon in Saudi Arabia. We work with Flipkart and Nykaa in India. And then, of course, Walmart and Amazon in other geographies. So, but the thing is, we are cross-platform, we are cross-border, and cross-border is the way to go because that's what people need. They need more access to different markets without them having to spend money or worry about the barriers to entry. So that's kind of a summary of all the three things I've done and I'm doing, Isabella.
So good. And I love that you mentioned, I love your successes, but I also love that you mentioned that, with your fashion brand, that was a small failure, but just because that happened, it's not going to stop you from creating anything in the future, right?
No.
You're taking that as a huge lesson, and going into the next business what to do and what not to do. Because a lot of people get stuck. They will encounter a failure and think their life is over, and they will start discrediting everything they've ever built. They would think, oh my God, everything I know was a lie. Everything I've done is a lie. I am not the person who I thought I was. So I see some people really pull into themselves and lose that faith instead of pushing forward. Like now I say, whenever I have something failing in my life, it's weird. Like some people would think I'm crazy, but I'm like, you know what? I'm excited. I'm like, okay, that happened. So I'm excited to see what comes out of it. Why was it that I failed in this thing? Where is it taking me? So, because if everything goes perfectly smooth, it's like, yeah, it's fun. You get the money, you get this, but then where are the lessons? This is what I'm here for. Where are the lessons? If I don't fail, how can I grow bigger? If I don't go into these small little issues, how do I become who I need to become if everything works out perfectly?
And Isabella, we're humans. The reason I talk about failure as much as I talk about my success is that it's bound to happen. That's why we are humans. That's why we learn. If we continue to just do the right things all the time, we wouldn't run. Like, did you know what happened to Steve Jobs, right? He got kicked out of Apple, his own company. He went to build on Pixar, which became such a big success that he ultimately was brought back into the company. Happened with Warren Buffett, happened with some of the biggest minds. Like, think about what happened with Elon Musk. The man is celebrated today, but the man was in depression at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we have gone through failures, we cannot be legendary because there is no story. And as humans, we are bound to get overconfident. We are bound to fail. We are bound to learn. Most importantly is, do we learn and grow further? Like, look at what I'm doing with Assiduus. It's already got 100 million valuation. It's got amazing investors, and we are growing at an exponential rate. But I did fail before that. I failed, and I did not stop there. I looked at why I failed, what got me there. And I openly talked that I was greedy. I didn't think through things. I didn't have a personal and a work-life balance. I made those mistakes. And Isabella, I have suffered from depression. And I've talked about it very openly on my platforms as well, because we got to be okay with understanding that the mind gets sick just like the body gets sick. It's not clinical, but sometimes when you don't feel good continuously for a few days and you feel miserable and you're questioning things, it's important to pay attention to the mind. If the mind doesn't stay healthy, the body cannot function well. So I have gone through all of these things, and is why I'm so much more stronger and I'm so much more empowered. And that's why you've invited me on your show, so that if I was just ordinary success, I don't think there would be a story to share, right?
Well, I think I would have loved you regardless, but yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you said. And you did mention a really good point, because not only with the pandemic, but a lot of entrepreneurs, we go through this emotional states where, like, we're up, we're down, and we tend to have some form of depression because of just how much we're going through. It's a lot of pressure. What are some things that you do to bring yourself back? Do you have any tips for those listening when it comes to that? That would be really great.
Absolutely. I'm a survivor of depression, and I battled it for almost 1 year. It was not a short time. Two things happened. Besides the fact that my business failed, I also started questioning my personal life, how I wanted to manage it, and my personal relationship started taking a toll, and so on. One of the things I learned during that time, what I stopped doing was I stopped meditating. I stopped finding time for myself. I also got too digitally attached, right? I today do digital detox. And what I mean by digital detox is after 10 p.m., I will switch off my phone no matter what, until I wake up next day morning, finish with my meditation, finish with my workout, and then I turn on my phone. I do not believe anything is more important or anything is going to happen drastically different if I stop communicating or stop using my phone during that time. That's one thing which I've practiced. Secondly, no matter what happens, a lot of people think meditating is only important during the morning. No, you got to meditate even during the night. So before I go to bed, I write my diary of gratitude, and I do close my eyes. And I love this prayer. I don't know whether you've heard of it, but it's a Hawaiian prayer, which is called as Ho'oponopono. It's basically talking up to yourself and telling yourself that you're grateful for who you are. We often are so grateful to everybody outside, we forget being grateful to ourselves. And I say this prayer telling myself that I'm grateful for who I am, how far I've come, all the struggles that I've been through, and I forgive myself and those for all the mistakes that I've done unknowingly. And that, to me, is a great reliever. We take the burden, oh my God, I'm responsible for everyone else, but we stop being responsible for ourselves, Isabella. I think that has changed my life significantly. The other thing that I've done, I stopped looking for validation in my relationships. I do not wait for someone to tell me the good and bad, and I feel that about me. We are powerful, but we are very emotional people. And I was super emotional in my relationships, and that took a toll on me. So one of the things I've learned is to separate myself from that. If there is a fight, if there is an argument, don't take it personally. Leave it at that. Don't let it affect your work, or don't let the work issues affect your personal life. So shutting off has enabled me to become that. And finally, what I learned from my previous company is that it's very important to hire people who are better than you. That's the best way to build a great company. Know what you're not good at, hire super talent, invest in great talent, keep them by giving them equity in the company, so you can take a break. So you know something I do, Isabella? I become inaccessible for sometimes 1 week to see if my team can function on their own, and they do. And that's a testament that I'm a good entrepreneur. I am building my second layer. I'm building a company that will survive even without me. And I think that's going to be my legacy. So this didn't happen overnight. It happened through all the things that I've been through. And I'm so glad you're giving me a platform to share it today.
Oh my God, you gave us so much, so much. And I'm actually taking in everything you're saying and applying it into my life, because everything you said has been just so perfect, like including the meditation. And the days that I meditate, I just feel so much better. And then what happens, Sam, is like we forget. We're like, oh, I'm feeling so much better. I don't have to do it. So then I keep going through these days, and I get all this pressure. I'm like, why am I feeling so yucky? What is going on? What is it? And then, I sit down with myself and I'm like, and then like I immediately start feeling better. And I'm like, why don't I do this every day? Why do I keep forgetting? Because it's easy to forget when we're feeling good. And we forget why we're feeling good. We're feeling good because of the things we do. And I love that you said, be grateful to yourself, be grateful for who you are. And because we do tend to give our power away a lot. And if we are just to bring that power back into ourselves just a little bit, our lives will change. So everything you said has been absolutely on point. We have so many comments. I didn't even put them on the screen because I didn't want to interrupt you, because you're just so so wonderful. But Syed is saying how to follow and learn from you, which is a question I was going to ask. If anybody wants to reach out to you, I know you have a book, by the way. I didn't even get to ask you about that. So a little bit about your book and how can people find you and buy your book.
Absolutely. Very easy to find me. Just put in Dr. Shomdata Singh on Google. My handles are all there. I have a pretty strong, presence on social media. I try to stay as active as possible. Yes, I've written a bestseller called Decoding Digital, and I'm working on my second book that is going to come out this year. It's more on my personal learnings and journey, and it's going to come out this year. But Decoding Digital is more of a book that I've written of how I have built my businesses hands-on. People write a lot of superficial things. I wanted all aspiring entrepreneurs and even professionals to understand what tools, what technology, what techniques I've applied to my businesses and how I have scaled them, what I've learned, how I have failed. So it's more of very hands-on, book, which took me almost 3 years to complete. But thank you so much for bringing that up, Isabella. And I think Syed wanted to know how to connect. Syed, you can follow me on my Instagram handle, which is @therealshomdatta, SOMDUTTA. But very easy is just to go Google me and you'll find all my information. And thank you so much, Isabella, for giving me this opportunity.
Of course. And Tiffany saying this is a phenomenal interview. And I so agree, more women need to support each other. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for watching. And you have been so incredible. I thank you. I hope your fever let out a little bit. I don't know how you're feeling after 1 hour being here, but I thank you. And
I told you I'm going to give it my all because it's for you. And Isabella, you're a phenomenal woman. You are a story that needs to be told. And I give you all my love and support. And I wish you conquer the world and you leave a legacy behind for others to follow, not just from your country, but also from United States, where people understand that at the end of the day, it's a woman and her journey, and she alone is the queen. So congratulations on everything that you're doing. And thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, my love. We'll definitely speak soon.